Good day, everybody, and welcome to today's webinar, Drive IT Success with Executive Scorecard. My name is David White, and I am a co-leader of the Vivid Business Intelligence Special Interest Group. I'm a senior product manager at Assure, managing a BI product for HP Quality Center and HP ALM. Assure is a global company with its head office in Finland and subsidiaries in the US and Israel. Mark, please move the slides. Just a reminder before we get started to join us at HP Discover in Frankfurt. It's taking place on the 4th to the 6th of December. There will be a discount for Vivid members, 950 euros through the 2nd of December, which is almost a 30% savings off on-site registration. You can enter your Vivid member number during the registration, and if you need that number, then please send an email to information@vividworldwide.org. Complimentary Vivid Advanced training will take place the day before HP Discover begins on December 3rd in the afternoon. The courses include Make Your Test Automation Project a Success Story and ITIL and Beyond, the successful reliable service delivery. Add those courses to your HP Discover registration account. There's no additional fee, and in the event that you cannot attend HP Discover, you can still attend the training, so contact at the email that you can see on the screen. Roundtables, join us at our special interest roundtables and HP Expert Lounge, and also you have the User Committees Lounge. The webinar series is brought to you by the Vivid Business Intelligence Special Interest Group, the BICIG. The BICIG is led by David Levine and myself. To join the Vivid BICIG, go to the BICIG page on the Vivid website and click the Join Group icon. Your input is very welcome on new topics, and we'd be very interested for you to join. Well, our presenters for today are David Levine. He is the ITPS Executive Scorecard Functional Architect at HP Software. Mark Bradley, Senior Software Technical Product Manager at HP, and myself, as I mentioned before. Just some housekeeping stuff. Well, today's live session is intended for all Vivid members. The recording will be posted on Vivid's webinar section on the website for all Vivid members. If you have any questions as we go along, please type them and send them in using the questions pane in the webinar control panel. Just a quick look at the webinar control panel. Mark, please. Yeah, as you can see here, this panel generally appears in the upper right-hand corner of your screen. If you want to submit a question, then make sure the questions pane is expanded and type in your question and click on send. Anyway, so let's get started, and I will turn it over to Mark. He will be running the session today.
Great, thank you, David. Hello, my name is Mark Bradley. I'm one of the technical product managers for HP Executive Scorecard, and I've been working with Scorecard since the beginning, and I'm excited to show you what we've been working on. And my plan is to show a couple of slides to level set, share with you a little bit of a use case, and then get into a live demo. And then hopefully your questions will come in, and that'll help guide the demo for some feature functionality that perhaps you'd like to see. So the first slide, just to kind of get things started, is the plan to succeed. Measurement's the first step that leads to control and eventually to improvement. If you can't measure something, you can't understand it. If you can't understand it, you can't control it. And if you can't control it, you can't improve it. And when we talk about dashboards, we like to refer to the cockpit of a plane or the dashboard of a car. One of the thoughts that I want to leave you with on this is, can you imagine flying that plane with all these dashboards, all these gadgets shut off. And if you think about that for a minute, that's a lot of what we're doing in IT. And we're trying to run IT without all these gauges turned on. And so hopefully today what I'll be able to show you is how we can turn those lights on for IT, and then how you can help innovate and bring new discovery in terms of KPIs and metrics and scorecards to your business. So I wanted to start out with kind of an overview of the scorecard. This particular page that you're looking at, it's showing the scorecard. And in the white here, you have your typical Norton Kaplan type scorecard where you've got goals and objectives. And then within each of the objectives, you have a score, a trend indicator, and a color code that kind of tells you red, yellow, green if you're making or you're not of your particular goals. And the way the scorecard is set up is there's multiple approaches to it. The approach that you're seeing here is what we call persona-based. And the way it works is that you would have a high-level scorecard, in this case the CIO, and then you'd have the ability to take this scorecard and cascade the goals and objectives down throughout the organization, and then you'll be able to measure and monitor the performance of each of the roles and responsibilities. In addition, we have the ability to also build scorecards, or we provide scorecards out of the box, plus you'll be able to build scorecards that are strategy-based. So if you're moving to cloud, if you're working on security, you're working on a number of IT initiatives, you can have the scorecard keeping, measuring, and monitoring as well. So let's just take a look at the scorecard here, and then we'll dive in a little bit in the live demo. So the way it's set up is you set up your overall objectives, and then inside you would have something, a common one would be, reduce IT budget by X percentage. And as you click on this, off to the right here will be a number of KPIs that you would assign to that objective. And then you'd be able to see the scores, whether it's percentage, a dollar, any kind of indicator, and you can hover over and you'll be able to see the information. Now, the score here, it's determined based on what we call one of three possibilities. The score is determined based on best of children, worst of children, or what we call weighted average. And we have a nice little algebra formula that looks at these and helps create that score. And then as you start to put your weighted average and you start your strategy, a particular KPI may be extremely important. But as you mature and improve and move down the maturity scale, you may change and adjust based on the business and the business needs. And then it'll calculate these scores. And then a little bit of a trend history, and then some additional KPIs and metrics that may or may not be as part of the scorecard, but help you see the kind of the bigger picture. And of course, like any dashboard, all of this is configurable, and you can set it up in your own way. We just give you some templates to get you started out of the box. Move to the next. When we talk about some of the out-of-the-box capabilities, I had talked a little bit about the driven by role-based, so the VP of Apps, the VP of Ops, the CIO, etc. In addition, we talked a little bit about the aligning of IT objectives by strategy, so it could be security, cloud, as well. The KPIs that we have 135 KPIs out of the box that spread across IT and multiple disciplines, and we created these KPIs based on industry standards. So you're looking at ITIL, COBIT. We went through all those books and we found the best KPIs that we could work with, and then built them, and I'll show you that as part of the product as well. The price of admission, I would say, is the data model. A lot of IT shops try to create this data model, and it's not easy. It's a struggle. And HP put a lot of thought leadership into the data model so that when you acquire the solution, you can easily expand upon that and grow it. In addition, there are a number of scorecards and dashboards created out of the box, ready to go, and ready to be tailored for your needs. I talked a little bit about cascading of scorecards. So the idea is that you would have a CIO scorecard with all the goals and objectives. You'll be able to see how things are keeping score, and then you can cascade down, and I'll show you that in a demo, from the CIO down to the VP of Apps or over to the VP of Operations, Security, and PMO, each having their own discipline, each keeping their own scores, but always tying back to the main goals and main objectives. In addition to web-based, we also have a mobile version. So within your iPads, iPhones, and Android devices, you have the ability to catch the updates and be able to provide updates as well as you see it on your mobile device. And these are a couple of screenshots of what that looks like. So now that I gave kind of a the quick 10-minute high-level overview, the next thing I wanted to do was share with you a use case. In this case, it would be United Airlines, as they are merging with Continental Airlines. So I wanted to, one, kind of set the stage of who United is, and then talk about some of the key elements of their particular implementation, and then from there I'll go right to the live demo. So just a couple things to call out when you think about United Airlines: 86,000 employees, 1,200 planes. There were some key elements that needed to happen in order for the merger to be successful. They had to rationalize their investments, consolidate assets, and improving on the corporate-wide business process, build an IT infrastructure to support this growth, and eliminate the application sprawl, implement consolidated metrics, develop and execute a set of consolidated services that support both UAL and Continental. And they took advantage of HP's executive scorecard, which provided a broad range of solutions. And then trying to reduce time to develop, change time to deploy, a lot of statistics that are extremely important, but the main one was the changed statistic / tactical spend ratio from 124 to 447. So there's some high level. Now the challenge was, and what was interesting about United Airlines, when we came to talk to them about executive scorecard, the merger had already been announced, and this was the scorecard that was, or the goals and objectives that was handed down from the CEO to the CIO and then cascaded throughout the organization. And they picked these 4 key areas to focus in on. It was fly to win, fund the future, make reliability reality, and working together. And those were the key cornerstones of the 4 pillars that things were, projects and programs and activities were based off of. What you don't see behind this is that in order for this merger to be successful, there were 600 projects that were going on simultaneously to all meet what they called certificate date. And that was the date that Continental and United could become one airline based on FAA regulations of a certificate. And these were kind of some of the guiding principles. And the challenge with this was, like many challenges that you probably face, and those are metrics and performance reporting. So as I kind of click through this, you'll probably recognize the technologies that are used to create each of these different reports. And as you go through, you could probably relate to them, and internally you may see that you have too many dashboards. The next challenge that you'll see is the data. And in a lot of organizations, the challenge with the data is that there's just too much. And when you have too much, there's too many sources of the truth. Which one do you believe? Which one do you work with? And they're all trying to answer, their particular question. But the challenge is it's all over. The other challenge that they had was that these were 2 different airlines. and that their cultures and philosophy were very different. When you look at Continental, the honest and open, collaborative, things were successful. It was direct. There was a lot of face-to-face communication. In United, on the other hand, they're very analytical, very accountable, very driven, results, looking at the score and trying to keep to the numbers. So you had two very different companies. Now, in a lot of companies, you probably don't have to have a merger to see this. A lot of companies out there already have this without a merger. So this kind of made it interesting. And so as you go through, they had these two different business models. And when you try to bring two cultures together, trying to meet a certificate date, it presented some challenges. Now this particular slide I really like because it talks about UAL's transformation journey, but I also find when I share this with customers around the world, they can relate. And how this chart works is on the left-hand side here we have what we call the technocentric era. That was back 2003, 2006, and typically when people were buying applications, they kind of had the blinders on and they were trying to solve a particular problem. They had a particular need, and there wasn't a whole lot of concern about integration to other products. It was, how do I get this solved? And then when ITIL V2 and V3 came about, things started to look like a service. And we had to kind of shape our solutions, pull them together, and create the services. And so as you try to align, to the business requirements, you're looking at common infrastructure, framework, workflow, and you're standardizing the process. Now, as we're quickly evolving into SaaS and cloud and a lot of different changes within IT, now we're getting into this business-centric. And now, more than ever, there's this partnership with the business and proactively driving the strategic direction, leveraging the mature and flexible infrastructure that all took place during the service-centric phase. So we're kind of taking it to the next level. So then, as we progressed, the next challenge became, how do we classify these metrics? It's a really important part. We know that developing, collecting, and reporting metrics is not a quick and easy effort to accomplish. We recognize that metrics are a source of valuable information for any organization, and they can provide and help demonstrate organizational maturity. They can help drive change behavior, discover opportunities for improvement, and justifying the reason for change or cost for a change. So the key understanding is finding and measuring data is during the collection and execution. So what I have here is this classification of measurement. What I find when I travel around the globe and I talk to a lot of customers, if you look at the top, it's a bit strategic. As you go down, it gets a bit more tactical. And on the bottom part of this pyramid, we like to say that these are key fact metrics. They are what they are. You're just tabulating. Number of changes, number of requests, and the metrics that I put here were very service desk orientated, just because it's an easy one for everyone to relate to, but you could easily replace it with other solutions, PPM metrics, ESM metrics, etc. And so what I find is these are pretty well done. Operational reports are under control. We've been doing it for a number of years. The challenge becomes as we start to look into key performance metrics. How can I cherry pick key elements of these key fact metrics and bring them together and be able to show key performance metrics? And then as I do that, we call this kind of the managerial layer. And as you get from the managerial layer and you start to get into key performance indicators, and then as you go higher up, you're starting to look at critical success factors. And you're answering questions like, are we efficient? Are we effective? Is there quality and progress and utilization, compliance, and so on? Then you get into the critical success factors. Are our systems available? Are they responsive? And are they secure? Now, when I have this under control, now as the business starts to drive its key goals, it can start to answer questions like, what happens if we make this acquisition? What happens if we cut this part of the business and spin it out? they can start to answer bigger questions as this kind of information gets tabulated and proceeded forward. And as you continue to go forward and you look at these alignments of measurement, you start to see where the different roles and responsibilities start to play. So in this key fact metrics, performance metrics, typically your process and service management, and then the overlap is on purpose. So as you're gathering data and pushing it up to the managerial layer, the process and service owners, and then as you're pushing up the layer to the executive management. So this kind of gives you a kind of a high level approach on the alignment of measurement. So let me go ahead and jump right into a demo. So I'll go ahead and drop out of this and show you some of the key elements of the scorecard. So let me go back to this. All right. So with the scorecard, when we logged in, I talked about different roles and responsibilities. I also talked about different strategies. And so what I did is I have a couple of screens here that we'll walk through. They're all very similar, but some of the logic and theory behind them is a little different. So the idea here is you have the scorecard, and as I hover, you see operational excellence, and then one of the objectives would be improve project execution. And I can see that I have a score and I'm trending down and it's not working. I have a number of these, and as I click on these, what happens is off to the right here, the KPIs that I assign to achieve process excellence, and I can see that the KPIs that I assigned to that was incident backlog, percentage of escalated incidents, or percentage of incidents. And on each one of these, I can see my scores, where I'm trending. And then if I assigned a few more, I can see those as well. The other part that I have is, you see this little notepad. What this little notepad does is it gives me a quick indicator so that I don't have to click on it. I can just hover over it. And I can see I can see the trends. I can see which KPIs are assigned. And then I can also see, in this case, I'm seeing a breakdown. In addition to this, I can have a dialogue as I see the different scorecards. So when I see the objectives and I see things are trending downward, I can start to have a dialogue. And essentially what happens is the scorecard changes into a scoreboard, and the dialogue and discussion changes from sending out hundreds of emails or pointing people to SharePoints or attaching the big spreadsheet that has all the reports. Now I'm kind of centralizing it. I'm giving it one pane of glass to have that discussion and see the score, if you will, from one particular area. And then from here I can add annotations. You can see that I'm logged in as Debbie and that this is a test. I can take and I can email it. And as I email, it'll grab who the KPI owner is, and then that'll be the first person that sees it. I can save screenshots. I can print, or HP, print early, print often. And then as well as if I want to take you to a source system or take you to another area to help me better understand why the KPI is what it is, I can provide that additional links. And before we dig in, I have an Explorer area, but I want to show a couple more things here on the screen. So as I click on KPIs from the KPI itself, I'll pick another one here. Off to the right here, what's happening is I can see the history and trend line, and I can quickly see how things are trending and what's going on for each one of the KPIs. And so what you're seeing is that the windows are what we call wired up. So as you click on this window, it changes the KPIs. As you click on the KPI, then you see the score and the trending. And then we have additional supporting KPIs down below. Now, the other part that's pretty powerful is once you have this information, the next question is what can I do with it? I see the scores, I see the trends, I can see whether I'm making it or not, but can you help me make a decision? Can you help me strategize to make things better. And we've created what we call components. And for instance here, I have this mean time to repair a service. In this case, we're looking at all services. And what we've done is we've taken 3 KPIs that we felt can help mean time to repair. For instance, we have percentage of successful patches, percentage of nodes with compliance issues, percentage of managed nodes. And what we've done is we've grabbed the scores from each one of those, and we're able to generate what we call a mean time to repair score. Okay? And it's basically just taking the information from here and bringing it down. Now, what we're able to do is a what-if scenario. What if we take percentage of successful patches and we increase it from 35%? And what you're seeing is I increase it to 53, it kind of gets me in the yellow zone. And as I continue to improve, it'll take me green just on this, if I can get in that 83% range. Here, if I take percentage of nodes with compliance issues and bring that down, I can go from red to yellow to green. And then percentage of managed nodes, do I bring more in? So then this might be a question about, my patch management, my auto discovery. These are key areas that I can look into and start to really understand the lay of the land a little bit better and kind of zero in on those challenges. In addition, bringing together just separate data types. In this chart here, we're showing actual cost, change success rate, and percentage availability. And then just clicking on and off, I can quickly turn on and off the different data points and see it. But the challenge is to see this same information, typically it's 3 different charts or it's 3 different reports. And what we're doing is we're bringing them together in one chart, one report, and we're automating the data to help populate that. All right, so let's dig in a little bit here. When we after we've seen kind of the overview, I can take and I can dig into, and earlier I showed this where you hover over the tab. If I click on it, I go into this area called the Explorer view. The Explorer view is where I get to go in and I get to see a little bit more about what's going on, and I get to help understand the impact of these different KPIs. So let's take a look here. So I have this achieved process excellence, and I have an overall score. And if I break this down a little bit, I can see the different KPIs that were assigned to achieve process excellence. Now, before I get into those, I can see the overall trend as it kind of dips and goes up. I can see the discussion. I can change the date ranges from quarter to date, year to date, 2 years to date. I can change the chart types. And for those that don't like the eye candy but want to see the data, I can show the pure data points. Now, what's neat about this is as I click through, I can see, okay, percentage of change resulting in an outage. And I'll see the values, and I'll change back to a chart. In this case, there's not a lot of values. Let's try this one. Okay, since I'm looking at 2 years to date, I don't have anything prior. And then the next thing I can see is calculation details. This is pretty important because most people will ask the question, how is this calculated and what formula did you use? Now, one of the great things about our KPI library is not only are we giving you the names of these KPIs, but we're giving you the calculation to these KPIs. And that's pretty important in addition to understanding where the data comes from and how that's calculated. So here I'm showing you the percentage, the monthly. Here's the formula. I can do some filtering. This is the threshold. Now, the other part that's pretty interesting is I can see whose scorecard is affected by this particular KPI. Now, this one's pretty simple. This one's mostly towards the service manager director. But as I go to a few of these others, I can see all the impact from this one KPI. I can also see the scores along the way. So let's take a look at a different one. Here's percentage of reopened incidents. Yeah, it looks like the same thing. Now, the other part that's pretty neat about this is that in addition to an overall score, I can do a breakdown. And so right now what I'm looking at is a breakdown of average, critical, high, and low, and I can see how the numbers are playing out. In addition, I can break that down several ways as long as the data that comes through, whatever's on that same line, I can do the breakdown by that. So let's take a look at here's by system. So I'm looking at SLAs planned to expired by VP of Ops. As I click through, I can see the breakdown and see which one's causing the pain of the overall score. All right. And here's a little bit better of a goal map. So you're seeing percentage of plan. You're seeing, this is the breakdown below. And then I can see that this particular CRM system is affecting the PMO, the VP of Ops, and the Service Manager Director. Again, something that's not very easy to do inside of a spreadsheet today. All right, the next thing I want to show you is the studio. The studio is the area where the magic happens. This is where you'll see what the active KPIs are. In addition, you'll be able to see our KPI library. All right, so this middle section is what we call active KPIs. And these are the various scorecards that are queued up, ready, and data is being calculated on a regular basis. And then off to the left here, we have what we call the KPI library. Now, it's a little bit lighter shaded area, and that's to tell you that you can't change the library for your protection. And the idea is that HP will continue to build thought leadership and build these KPIs and build the ETL to pull this data and keep providing and pushing it into this KPI library. And then you as the customer have the ability to grab the particular component, in this case it's PMO, and you can literally drag and drop, add it to your own active KPI, and the system will start to calculate that information, assuming that the data is ready. So in this case here, we're showing we call the business scorecards, the VP of Operations, the CIO, and these come out of the box predefined. In addition, we have what we call the HP portfolio. So if you're coming from a particular discipline within IT, you have a particular solution, maybe it's asset manager, and you open it up and you can see the KPIs that we calculate for asset management or service manager. There's a TM form here. That was one of the certifications we just received. We had a chance for the telco industry. They took a look at our KPI library and our structure, and they certified us in supporting them. In addition, we just completed certification for Pink Verify, as well as the OGC for ITIL. And we'll find out the results here shortly. We just finished that last week. So we have the HP portfolio. In addition, and this is probably my favorite, is the industry standard. Now, within the industry standard, looking at ITIL v3, what we've done is we've gone through and put the books. So you have service strategy, service design, transition, operation, continuous service improvement. And then as you check into it, you can see the chapters. So if you reach up on your shelf, pull down your service strategy book, you can see demand management, strategy generation. And then as you go through, you can see the KPIs out of the box. And this is, as we continue to evolve and grow, we'll continue to add to this, but critical, being able to see it and search it for your use. We talked about strategies, so application modernization, cloud, hybrid IT, IT finance, security, virtualization. There's a number of strategies that are going on at the same time. So in addition to the role, we can have the strategy. And then as we create them, when we go inside to the active KPIs, so let's take a look at VP of Apps. Let's look at operational excellence. And I break that down a little bit, and let's say improve project execution. When we talked about earlier, when you clicked on the scorecard and you clicked on Improve Project Execution, these were the KPIs that showed up in the other window. And in this case here, we have what we call, these are the different KPIs, and the method that we chose for calculation was best of children. We have best of children, worst of children, or a weighted average. And then what we could do then is, if we choose a weighted average, we can actually put a number that associates to which KPI is most important. And then during the calculations, it'll do that based on that. We talked about, once we have that information, being able to look at more information to kind of dig into that KPI. And so what we have is we could do the URL back to the source system. We can do what we call business objects reports, point you to additional dashboards, or flash reports. And we have a few of those as well. The owner. So now once we talked about the dialogue and being able to have a collaborative discussion on as the performance is evolving, then I can assign an owner to it, and then the owner is always included in those discussions since they're the owner of the KPI or the owner of the objective. As we dig into the particular KPIs, I want to say no, I don't want to change that. So now we're looking at the KPI itself. Here's an example of percentage of projects on time. We're looking at a percentage, looking at the description. This is showing the thresholds, and I can change those. In this case, it's looking at what we call maximize, meaning the maximum on the green is the best. Centralize would mean green's in the middle, or minimize means green would be in the beginning. And then there's some additional details. Again, showing an owner, again, being able to show a link to the source system. And as people use this system to have their meetings and have their discussions, you as the KPI owner can come in here and quickly add a link to more information that could quickly be called out from the scorecard, which is helpful and important. Well, let's go in here. This is the area where the calculation details are, and this is telling me that this particular KPI is coming from the PPM system. We have the formula itself, and we have what we call a formula builder. And what this does is, the left part is what we call the function area, very similar to Excel. So if you're familiar with Excel and you can do sum, min, man, average, it's the same situation. And what we've done is we've given a little bit of description, and then these are the fields that were brought over. And as you dig into, I'm sorry, those would be the tables, and then these would be the fields. And you can literally take, drag, and drop and create your formula. And then once you've created your formula, what we've done is we have a validation. And what we'll do is we'll actually go back to the source, we'll take a look at the fields, and make sure that all the fields that you put in here are there. And then once they're there, you click OK. And then the next thing that we'll do is we can test the KPI. And so what we'll do is we'll actually go to the source system, and we'll give you a score based on the formula and the data that you provided. So again, it's extremely helpful to bring together. And then one of the final parts I want to show you is the finance. We've got it's pretty exciting. It's you can't have a balanced scorecard without finance, and we've got a couple of features here in terms of the an allocation process. So what you're seeing on your screen now is we have the ability to bring finance data from, say, project and portfolio management to look at labor, asset manager to look at asset management related costs. And then we can roll that information up, and we can allocate pieces and parts to the different organizations that are using it as kind of a show back for your services. And this is what we're showing you here is, it's like peeling an onion. You've got this huge IT expense, and we're able to take it layer by layer and really show the business how they're consuming our services. And as I go through, I can continue to show that. And then each one we we go into here. Each one we create rules, and in here I'm just going to edit a rule so you can kind of see it. So rule name 1. These are all the dimensions. So as I'm continuing to pull data into the system, I can create a criteria to say, look at this. In this case, anything greater than 0. And then I have the ability to allocate it out. In this case, I'm doing discretionary, non-discretionary, and I'm showing 40-60. I can also do what we call equal, which is the peanut butter spread, or I could do what we call metrics-based allocation. And what that means is, after I have a service up and running, let's say a web service, and I want to be able to charge back based on traffic and utilization, as I capture that information, each month I can look at who to charge back for that utilization. And then here I can automatically grab it and show it, and then be able to pass those costs along, as well as savings to others that may not be using it, but they're on the system. Are you sure you want to close? Okay. There's a cost explorer. This lets you kind of explore the cost. It's very similar to a pivot table in Excel, but instead you're looking at large amounts of data from multiple systems. All right. And in addition to that, we have a budgeting piece. So in the event that maybe you're not using Asset Manager or PPM for your budgeting, we can create budgets in here and then use that as part of our baseline plan. And then as the actuals start to come in and unfold, we can match up plan versus actual. All right. And then just a couple more things I wanted to show, and then I think what I'll do is start to open up for a discussion with David, and then we'll get into some Q&A to see if we have some questions out there. So the couple things I wanted to show, back to the scorecard itself, I have, I talked about cascading, and I wanted to show that. So here I'm on the Service Manager page, and I have this little drop down, and I could say, okay, I want to go from Service Manager to VP of Apps. So keeping my screen the same, I'm now into the VP of Apps scorecard. I can see their scorecard, and I can click on their goals and objectives, and I can see how the scores are going, and then I can easily see maybe areas that I might be impacting them or areas that I can help improve. All right. I think that was the main things I wanted to show there, and I wanted to finish up on a quick slide that kind of sums up how this whole system comes together. So let me fill this out really quick. Go back. Okay. So how does this work? How does this whole thing come together? You showed me some amazing KPIs and metrics and scorecards and cascading and the impact, and it's Moneyball for IT. How does this work? How does this come together? So across the bottom are a variety of systems that are within the HP IT Performance Suite. And you don't have to have them all to get it started. You can even start with spreadsheets. We have a number of customers who start with spreadsheets, mature their system, and then they begin the journey. And the journey is improving the data so that you can really report on it. So within here we have a number of data sources. We have what we call an ETL engine, extract, transform, load. So basically what we do is we plug into the system, we do a query, we get the core data that we need, and we bring it into this data warehouse, which is our staging area. And we understand how to log into each one of these systems, run that query, get the data. We take a look at it. We do some consolidation. We're doing some checks and balances to make sure that it's good data. And then we take that data and we push it into our data model. And our data model, that's our target. That's where the data begins to accumulate and begins to show. And this data model, if anyone's ever tried to make one, this is worth the price of admission all by itself. It's a well thought through data model that you can grow and expand to meet your needs. Once the data is in here and accumulating, this is where the scorecard comes in. We looked at the library, and the library is where all the predefined KPIs are. Now, the question you should probably be asking is, can I create my own KPIs? And the answer is yes, absolutely. And we have customers that create KPIs all the time. The advantage of using the KPIs out of the box is we continue to grow and evolve the system. Benchmarking becomes a key topic. And being able to benchmark among your peers, there's companies that spend a considerable amount of money for that. And to be able to have like-for-like formulas and calculations is extremely important. The KPI engine, this is where all the KPIs are actively calculated and constantly updated. We looked at the KPI Explorer, which allowed us to delve into it a little bit, see the trends, and then see who the owners are as well as any additional information. The dashboards, the scorecards, the KPIs, the metrics, and UI mashup. One of the things I did not show you is how easy it is to create a new page, but we can do that. I showed you the budgeting, the cost explorer, and the allocation engine. And then there's a number of reports. We talked about the mobility, meaning that you can work on your mobile devices. And then the collaboration, being able to have that discussion and changing it from a scorecard to a scoreboard. In addition, we have this integrated development environment, which allows you to automate additional data sources. Context modeler, which allows you to kind of help build the relationships with the data. We have KPI and Metrics Studio, so that you can create your own KPIs and metrics. And then the UI mashup, which allows you to create your own UI setup to display the screens. So this is the overview. I guess at this point, David, I invite you back. Let's have a little discussion and then open it up for some questions. Is there any questions in the queue, Dave?
Yeah, hi Mark. So first of all, I think this was very, very interesting. Yeah, we definitely have some questions, and definitely invite our audience to enter additional questions as we go. So let's try to tackle some of the questions we already have.
Sure.
So first of all, Maurice asks about what will be the best strategy to achieve a quick ROI, since he's concerned that you have lots of incomplete data points and different applications that are not necessarily HP, and he would like to understand what will be the best strategy to promote that executive scorecard in the organization for the different members of the board.
Very, very good question. And when you talked about the board, it's really interesting. When we had our design partners helping us when we were initially creating the concepts and ideas of executive scorecard, there was a CIO that told us that HP, you're selling yourself short. This system should be sitting in the boardroom, and we should be putting goals and objectives and cascade it down throughout the organization. So great point. So directly to your answer, first of all, when you look at the different data sources, the industry has evolved. And when you look at, let's say PPM or Service Manager, Gartner has stopped measuring and monitoring and putting those in quadrants. And the reason why they did was because the industry has developed, it's mature, and there's no longer a game of who's better, because they do what you're supposed to do when it comes to that discipline. So in the event that you have a competing product, at that point, it just becomes a field mapping exercise. PPM calls it one thing, our competitor may call it another, but we're basically capturing the same information. And so it just becomes a matter of understanding the differences in what the fields are, and then proceeding from there. And we have our PSO group who's been working on those type of integrations and have a number of templates to work from. Very good question.
Great. Now, what Patrick asks, whether he's probably concerned that he already have some BI assets in his own organization, and is worried about the integration between executive scorecard and the current BI assets, or what will be maybe the prerequisites in terms of the data structure that you should prepare for executive scorecard. So do you have any thoughts on that?
Very good question. We have a number of customers who have both our BI solution in general, which is business objects underneath the hood, as well as competing business solutions, BI solutions in-house. And the challenge that they had internally was, well, this is one more BI solution. But what's been interesting is when you look at your current BI solution, you look at your current goals and objectives and what you're doing with it, chances are you're very focused on finance and what the business needs. And if we came to you and said, can you build this, what you see on the screen, for IT? You'd tell me, yes, you could, but then you would also tell me it would probably take you about 2 to 3 years, and it may or may not be what we're delivering here today. So to answer your questions, we can stand this up in your environment. We can collect the IT data, the areas in the data that we know best, and we'll continue to evolve and master and give you great strategy and good content. We're going to continue to evolve that. Now, in terms of making an integration between two systems, once I have the data in my data model and I'm creating abilities for you to tap into, it's an open architecture. We didn't close anything here. Everything, as soon as you open the box, as soon as you start to look under the hood, we didn't hide anything. We didn't compile anything. Everything is right there for you. And we've had cases where they brought us in, they looked at our data model, they looked at our ETL process, and they said that's better than we can do, and it's cheaper than if we tried to build it internally. And we can start tomorrow. So those are all key things to kind of keep in mind. Great question.
Yeah. Now let me add maybe one question of my own. Can you tell us a little bit about the mobility offering of Executive Scorecard? We know this is becomes a more and more important subject as we go, and do we have some mobility capabilities in this product?
Yes, thank you, David. Very good question. So, as we continue to evolve and change, our noses are mostly in our mobile devices. As we're either in line, sometimes when we're driving, sometimes we're in meetings, we've got our face to our mobile devices because it's convenient and it's there. And we recognize that. And so what we've done is a couple things. We recognize that, the Apple OS and the Android are the two key market players. And if you go to the Apple Store, you see HP Anywhere, you can quickly download it and you have it installed. And then the Android as well. And then being able to provide this kind of information, this valuable thought leadership on a mobile device, we deliver that. And it's been extremely helpful in a lot of our customers who, they start with the scorecard dashboards on the web, they like what they see, and then as part of our mobile solution, it comes with, Scorecard is one of they have a thing called applets. And one of the applets is the scorecard. We have an applet for IT finance, so you can see financial. And then we also have, each of these applets are use cases. So we're not trying to recreate the entire, PPM or service manager. What we're doing is we're creating finite use cases that can be executed through your mobile device. So if you're, you want to approve a change, you want to approve a project or a program or, resources, do your timesheets, things like that that are simple, finite, powerful use cases on the mobile device so that as you're on the fly, you can still make things happen versus having to go back to your laptop, flip up your screen, log into the system, go find it, and then approve it that way. So we're trying to bring the power of the portfolio to you on a mobile device. Good question, Dave.
Great. One more thing that I think may be very interesting is what in terms of community, do we see some kind of for user community growing around Executive Scorecard?
Oh, very good question. Very good question. So HP has what we call the HP Live Network. And within the live network, it's a subset of communities to help get the most from your investment. And Scorecard is no exception. Within the HP Live community, we have Executive Scorecard, and this is the area that we're going to continue to grow and evolve. One of the powerful features of Scorecard is that it has content packs. And so what that means is our partner community continues to grow and evolve around Scorecard. They can take their discipline, their expertise, which may be different than ours in terms of IT. You know, maybe it's mergers and strategies, maybe it's healthcare, maybe it's any one of these. They can create their own KPIs, scorecards, content pack, bundle it, put it on HP Live Network, make it available for our customers to be able to leverage. And it's an opportunity to, from our partner community, to say, you know, when we come and install this, in addition to what HP provides, here's our, here's our knowledge. And then we'll be answering questions. We have blogs, wiki. You know, there's a number of things that are happening to try and keep you current on, you know, what's in a very powerful investment. Good question, Dave.
Great, Mark. So maybe we have a couple of more minutes, so maybe the last thing will be, so, we're coming in, we have a new question coming in just now.
Sure.
Maybe, yeah, Randy actually asked what HP Anywhere is.
Oh, very good question. So HP Anywhere is, when you buy Scorecard, you get HP Anywhere working for Scorecard, and it's kind of a bundled package. And then in the event that you want to add other applets above me on Scorecard, then there's your opportunity to purchase, or you can buy into each one of the applets. But what HP Anywhere is a solution that complements Scorecard and makes it mobile. And it's a separate install, but it pulls directly. It's, you know, hand in glove with Scorecard. It understands the data model and pulls all the information and then populates it. And I think I had a screenshot. Let me cruise down here a little bit. So this is what it looks like on the iPad. So you still have your Scorecard. You still click through. You can still see, you know, the KPIs. As soon as you install this and look at this, you know, a lot of times when I meet with CIOs, and if they bring their iPad, the first thing I do is have them install this, pointing it to one of our demo systems, and I show them this, and it's you know, it's like candy. They love it, and then they become your advocate pretty quick on the solution. But overall, great solution, well received within the market. Here's another.
Right, so time for last question.
Sure.
So maybe you can tell us in short, what does it mean to be a partner or a reseller of Executive Scorecard?
Oh, that's a really good question. So we do have a number of partners that have reached out to us, and they want to bring it to their customers. You know, they're deep in expertise in PPM and Service Manager and ALM and BSM, and now they're ready to present that analytical approach, the Moneyball for IT, if you will, to their solutions. And so they've been reaching out to HP software in general, and reaching in, we have a number of training courses that we've been doing around the globe. I want to say, you know, at this point we've probably trained over 1,000 people around the globe on our solution, and I want to say about 300 to 400 of those individuals were partners who have come up to speed and are trying to, you know, ingrain it into their fabric of their offerings. And there's a couple of approaches there. We've got some that are hosting it on SaaS, so that in the event that the customer not ready to buy the whole solution but needs the power and analytics, they can use it as a SaaS solution. And then we've got companies that are, you know, that are standing it up in like kind of a MSP type environment where they add it to their service catalog. You know, so if you're looking for dashboarding solutions, you're looking for scorecards, you can go to, you know, the service catalog and then, you know, buy in on the service, if you will, and then That's one of the ROIs that people have. So, so we have the partner community that's continued to evolve and come up to speed and doing our implementations with us. We have content folks that are building content and making it as an add-on to our solution, and as well as folks that are embracing the technology to take their IT shop to the next level.
Perfect.
Great.
Yeah, so I think we can wrap up.
Okay.
All right, David and Mark, thank you very much. I just want to remind everybody that this session has been recorded and it will be available to all members on the Vivid website. And thank you everybody for attending.
Thank you. Have a nice day.
Thank you. Thank you.